Hello people, my name is Ferdy and it is Elementor time. It is time to create websites using the container builder. If you know Elementor already for a while, you've been waiting for this, the new Elementor container builder. What is the story? Well, before we created websites using sections, columns and elements, with the container builder, we will make websites using containers and elements. The learning curve is a bit harder, but I will show you step by step how to work with this. This is my first tutorial about the container builder. So let's dive right in. We're gonna focus on the positioning, and I will make much more tutorials where I will cover everything about the container builder. So let's get started with rebuilding the website of Tesla.com for a desktop, tablet and mobile. When I go to fast for you, you can go to the settings of the YouTube video and change the playback speed to a slower one, or you can click on the left arrow on your keyboard and go back 5 seconds in the video. In the description of the video, I have timestamps, so if you want to go to a certain part of the video, you can click on one of the timestamps and you go directly to that part of the video. So in this tutorial, I'll show you how to create a page like this, the Tesla homepage, using the Elementor container. Well, let me show you a few things. I will make use of the Hello theme. Besides that, I will make use of Elementor and Elementor Pro. If you don't have it yet, you can go to ferdycorp.com/L-Pro, hit enter. And if you want to start with a license for just one website, you go to this one, $49 per year, and then you have all the features of Elementor Pro. You can buy it, fill in your details, download Elementor Pro, upload it over here, connect it with your account, and you're good to go. And I use Save SVG because I want to make use of the Tesla SVG. And one more thing, I go to Elementor Custom Fonts. I use the Carmen Electra font, that's how I called it, because that font looks like the Tesla font. You can also use another font. I go to the website, I edit this page, and I want to edit this page with Elementor. If you don't see this container over here, go and exit. Go to Elementor Settings, Experiments, scroll down, and when you see the Flexbox container, put it to active and save it. Then go back, edit with Elementor, and you'll see the container. Well, a few more things before you get started. If I click on the 3 lines and I go to the user preferences, I prefer to use the dark interface. I prefer to use the editing handles. And when I go to the site settings, global colors, I make use of those 3 colors, which are from the Tesla website. And I grab my colors by using the Google Chrome extension Color Pick Eyedropper. So I click here. Then I can select the color, copy the color code and use it in Elementor. So having said that, let's get started. I close this and I want to go to the settings here below and I want to change this page, the page layout, to a canvas. That means there's no header, there's no footer. There's just one beautiful canvas and we can paint it with Elementor. Wow. So I want to start with a header. So I click on the plus and I want my elements to go from left to right. So I choose the arrow to the right and now I want to fill this with an image and 2 navigation menus, just like here, the image, navigation menu and a navigation menu. So I go to this area, to all the elements and I search for an image. Then I drag it over here. I click over here. And I go for the Tesla image. I will configure this later. Then I go back to all the elements. I search for the nav menu. I drag it over here. Sometimes it needs to become blue. Then I release it and there it is. And then I can hover over here, duplicate it, click over here and change the menu to the Tesla second menu. Well, if we take a look, I can update it and I can click on the eye. And the great thing is with the eye, when I change something, so I make the logo a bit smaller, I go to the style of the logo to pixels and I make it 122. And I click on update. Look at this, automatically it will change. So that's the great thing about this eye. So when I change something, I want to see it. Well, I want to compare this with the website of Tesla, but I don't like this bar over here. So I hover over here, edit my profile, and then over here at the toolbar, I uncheck showing the toolbar when viewing the site. I update my profile, I close it, And I go to Elementor, I click on the eye, and now I don't see it anymore. So now I can compare how it looks. Well, there's a lot of work to be done yet. By the way, I use images. This one, I used the SVG grabber, right mouse click over here, and I can save this background all for personal use or for this tutorial. Elon Musk and I are friends, so he's totally fine with me. We also have the same birthday. He's from South Africa. I love South Africa, so we're buddies in my fantasy world. So yeah, and I drove a Tesla, so he must be really happy with me. So let's go back to the tutorial. How can we make this look like this? I want to go for a second area. Click on the plus. This time arrow down, so all the elements will be below each other. Then I go to the container style. I choose the background type classic, and then I want to upload an image. That is this one from model 3. Insert the media. Then I want to change the size to cover. Change the position to center. And then it will go to the center. So if I will make this bigger, look at this. The Tesla will remain in the center. So I go to the container layout, minimum height. If I increase it, it stays in the center because we just said it should stay in the center. But I don't want to create a height, custom height in pixels because every desktop screen is different. I want to remove this and I want to go for the viewport height. This is the viewport. So based on someone's computer screen, the height of this image is decided. So viewport height should always be 100%. That means that it will fill the whole screen. So if I make this website smaller, it adjusts beautifully. Okay, still not like this, but we're getting a little bit closer. So now I want to go to the upper header, so I can click over here, or I can use the navigator, and then I can select the container. If I double click over here, I want to call this one the header. I can collapse this. Then I can go to the second container, this one, double click, and I call this one the model 3. So right now it's time to talk about items and direction. And for me to remember it, I think about one direction and Justify Bieber. And in that way, I never forget that it's all about directions and justify content. One direction, Justify Bieber. Wow, I came up with it myself. Wow, I'm so smart. Okay, let's continue with directions and justify content. So let's take a look at this header first. How can we make this look better? I go to this area, so I select a container. And then first, if I update it and I take a look, what I see, this is boxed. It's not completely from the left to the right. Over here, it is. So in order to change that, we go to Elementor, to the container, and the container width is full width. That means it will be completely from the left of the screen to the right. But here, there's an empty area. Why is that? Well, over here, I said the direction of this header should be from the left to the right. That's why I decided to use that arrow over here. I can also change that. Right now, everything is from the left to the right next to each other. I can also put it below each other. So the logo, the first menu and the second menu. I can also reverse the horizontal row. So right now, here is the first element, the second element, and the third element. And also with the vertical area, I can reverse it. I use this one or this one. Look at this. When I click on this arrow right, look at this area and this area. It changes. So based on those settings will be adjusted. So let's start with a row, horizontal. So everything is from the left to the right. And I see this gap over here. So how can we fix that? Well, we can justify the content. Right now it's aligned to the left. So if I update it, it's all at the left. I can also align it to the center. Update. So everything we do over here is horizontal. The third one is at the right. And then there's my favorite one for this one, space between. That means that the first element is totally at the left and the last element is totally at the right. Like this. Hey, this is getting more as I have it in mind. So that's great. Then there's this one, space around. So that means that over here between two elements, there's 2 times the amount of space as over here. So what I also can say, I can divide it or space it evenly. And that means that between all the elements and at the sides, the space is the same. So this is the same as this area. So all those white areas have the same width. But as I said, I like the space between because then we have something at the left, at the right, and at the center. But more important, look at this. This Tesla logo, it's on the top and this is in the center. And this also, how can we fix that? Well, we just talked about the horizontal settings. Now at the align items, we can talk about the vertical settings. So I can say everything should be at the top, but what I prefer, everything should be at the center vertically. Oh, and now this looks already so much better than what we started with. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a look at padding and margin in order for everything to work. And sometimes it's just a matter of playing around. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to play around with pixels. It's like I'm living with pixels. Okay, that's a weird joke. That's the YouTube channel of my friend, Reno. So don't check him out because I want to be the most successful YouTuber in the world. You know what? He can be number 1 if I'm number 2. So check out his channel. Let's continue. What I want to do, since we have this beautiful header over the background, I want to do the same. So first, I want to choose the height of this area and I can measure it a little bit. So I can hold Shift Command 4. I can measure this a little bit. So it says 80. I think it's a little bit less. What I can do, I can go to Elementor, to the container of the header and change the minimum height. And if I increase it, look at this. But if I decrease it, it's a minimum of this. And it seems that I need less space than this area. So how can I fix that? If you cannot make it smaller or closer or shorter than this area, go to Advanced and uncheck the padding, because by default there is some padding. I uncheck it and then I go to the container layout, and over here the gap between, I want to bring it to 0. And now you see there is not much space, and that's exactly what I want, because now I can decide how much space I want to have. And I think it is 52 pixels. Update. So let's see. Okay, so now we can configure it even further. This is a container tutorial. It's not a design tutorial. So what I see over here, this looks really weird. You know what? Let's go through these settings really quick. But I don't want to focus on styling, but okay. I want it to be like this. I cannot create an animation. That's a different tutorial, but I can make it look like that. So I click over here and then I change the pointer from underline to background. So right now we have an ugly green background. I go to the style. Then I change the typography to Carmen. Okay, then it's way too big. So I go to the size, I think 13. And I want to change the weight. Right now, it's a little bit smaller than this. I can bring it to medium. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Then we have the horizontal padding. I can bring it close to each other. Or I can spread it a bit more. So I think 17 is great. Then if I hover over it, I want to have vertical padding, because over here when I hover over it, the background is not as big or as high as over here. So if I increase this, look at this, I hover and then I increase this. Now I can see how big the background will be. So how about 5? Then I want to change the background color by going to hover and change the pointer color to black. And then I can make it transparent. So I bring it all the way to the left, almost all the way. Now when I hover over it, it looks like that. And later we're going to take a look at how it looks when this background is over here. Let me go back over here. I want to have a border radius, because over here, there's a border radius. So border radius, let's increase it to 5. Great. And when I hover over it, I still want the text color to be dark. Yes. I like the settings. So I say right mouse click, copy, right mouse click, paste the style. So again, we're a little bit closer to the style I have in mind, or the website of Tesla is. So now I want to bring this background below the header. How can we do that? Well, if I take a look over here at the container, I know the height is 52 pixels. So I go to the Model 3 container, then I go to Advanced, and I uncheck this, because right now if I increase it, it will be increased everywhere. If I uncheck this, I can also increase or decrease everything individually. So right now I'm creating more spacing, so I go to the -5, and then a 2. Bam! And now it's behind it. But the logo disappeared because this background is in front of the logo. So I go to the header, I open this, I go to the image, and I need to go to the z-index at Advanced. And the z-index is kind of a layer. So I say the z-index of this is 10. That means it's in front of this area, because this area, if you don't have a z-index, it's by default 0. So the image, the navigation, Advanced, 10, and the other navigation are in front of the background. Otherwise things disappear. We don't want that. So update, like that, now like that. So now it's a matter of how can we make it look exactly the same when it comes to positioning as the Tesla website. Well, what I see, if I make a screenshot over here, maybe there's a fast way to do this, but I do it like this. I go to Photoshop, I drag this to the center and it snaps. Then I select this area from the model area on over here. I create a new layer, beautiful purple. I duplicate it holding Alt. It's not a Photoshop tutorial. If I select them both, what I see, this is exactly in the center at the Tesla website. But if I take a look at my website, let's make a screenshot, Command-Shift-3. Let me copy this and paste it here. It's not in the center. How can we bring this to the center? Well, let me show you. You know why it's not in the center? Because we're working in a Flexbox container. And the Flexbox, it's already explaining it a little bit. Flex wants to go wherever it wants. So based on the width of this area and this area and this area, the container decides, okay, I'm just gonna bring this a little bit more to the left. I don't care. I don't want it to be in the center. So what we need to do in order to bring this in the center, because we aligned the container in the center over here, we need to give this a permanent value. So if I go to the width of the image, I can go to Advanced. To the width, I can say, you should be a custom size, which is in pixels 300. And now you see, when I increase it or decrease it, it's shifting, because this is still flex. This is not flex anymore. We decided you'll be 300 pixels. The same I want to do with the navigation menu, with this area. I want to say you will be 300 pixels. And what that is doing, it's giving this a permanent value, which brings our menu back in the center. So if I make a new screenshot, and I copy it and I paste it, now it is perfectly aligned in the center. But what we see, this area is in the center because it's in the center of its own space. So I click on the logo, I go to content and I bring it to the left. Then I go to the navigation menu, go to the content and bring it to the right. Update. Perfect. Now I want to bring this closer, because here it's totally at the left and here at the right. So how can we do that? Well, I go to the Tesla area, to the image. I go to Advanced. I uncheck the linking of the padding values and I go to left and I increase this. So let's say 50. And what you see, that's what I like. This is not shifting because I'm still operating in my own 300 pixel space. So let's say 50, update, it refreshes. And you see, it's almost the same. So let's say 46. So we can make it pixel perfect. It's not necessary to make it pixel perfect in my opinion. So I think I can make the logo a little bit smaller even. And now at advanced, make it as if it's on the exact same spot. Okay. Over here I can do the same. So I go to the navigation menu, advanced, and this time uncheck it, and at the right, let's say 30. Update. Great. Well, what I see, the text can be a bit bigger. So I go to typography. 14. Also here, typography. 14. Right now I cannot copy and paste it anymore because here I have settings that should not be applied on the center. Otherwise I will mess things up. So right now it looks like this and I'm happy, but I think we can make our header a bit bigger and go over here to advanced, increase it. So it will be brought a little bit down. Yes, I'm happy with it. Okay, it's not pixel perfect. We can make it pixel perfect, but then this tutorial will become long and I think we're doing a great job right now. So, really close. Let's take a look at this area, the Model 3 area. Right now I have nothing over here. But what I want to do, I want to go to all the elements by clicking here. I want to drag a container over here. So a container in a container, and by default this container will go up to the top. Why? If I go to the Model 3 container, we did not configure this yet. So I go to the layout and then it's pointing down. So all the elements over here are below each other instead of next to each other. Then I go to the center and now this area is brought in the center and I can also bring it in the center horizontally. So perfect. Now in this area, I want to have a new container. So I drag this over here and in that container, I want to have, based on this title and this text, I want to have a heading. Go back and I want to have a text editor element. So I copy Model 3. Okay, go to the styling, typography, change it to Carmen. Also here, style, Carmen. Then I go to the text, order online for touchless delivery. So I go to the content area, I paste it, and every link over here by default is red. So I can change it by going to the style, clicking on this beautiful color, copying, go to content, select this whole area, and then over here I can make it bigger by clicking here, choose a color, custom, this one. Okay. Then I can make it underlined, just as over here. But what I see, it's not in the center. So I need to go to this particular container. And here I want to say that everything should be below each other and in the center and in the center, like that. What I also see, you don't see that well right now, but there's a lot of space over here. So I can click over here, go to advanced, uncheck the margin and decrease it so I can bring it closer to each other. Something like that. Update. Now I want to have another container below this area. So in this container, below this container. So let me see how I can do that. I drag it over there. And now I see, let me see if I collapse it. Yeah. This container. In that container, I want to have a button like this. Custom order. So I go to all the elements. I search for a button. I drag it over here. And now I can change the style or change the text, custom order. And then I want to go to the styling, to the background color, which is not there. So I go to the color pick eyedropper, grab this color, copy it. Then I paste it here. Then I want to create some border 5, and the padding I uncheck it, and then I say 12, 90, 12, 90. Then I take a look at the text. I think it's the right height or the right size. Okay. When I hover over it, nothing should happen. And what I can do now, right mouse click, duplicate. But now it's below each other. I want it to be next to each other. How can I do that? I click over here and I bring it next to each other and to the center. I go to the second color or the second button. I click on style and the background color should be this one. And the text color should be the primary one. So what I have now is 2 containers in one container. So if I would go to the big container, I can change the height of that container, but then everything goes up. I want this to go down. How can I do that? Well, what do you guess? First, I want this to be down. How can I separate this from each other? Well, there are the justify content options. And if I use this one, it says this will be totally at the top and this will be totally at the bottom. So if I select this, look at that. So now I can increase it or decrease it like that. Update. If I take a look at the Tesla website, it's coming close. I think the Model 3 can be bigger. I mean the text of the Model 3. I had the Model 3, amazing car, I love it. But then we got children. My wife said, I prefer a bigger car. So now we have a Peugeot 5008. Beautiful car. Okay. I don't want to focus too much over here, but a few things we can do. So this is okay, but this should be lower. How can I do that? I go to the container, I separate them a bit more, but then I can go to the advanced area, uncheck margin, and then I can bring it all down. Like that. It's really close now. Actually, I'm okay with it. I think you know by now how you should work. If you don't understand it, please watch it again or leave a comment like, hey, Ferdy, maybe you can focus a little bit more on this because I don't get that. But I'm really happy with the result. And what I can have now over here is an animation. I will not make an animation. You need to use CSS or JavaScript for that. Maybe I should make a tutorial about that. But right now I just want to go for an image. Select the image. It's this arrow down. Make it really small. And go to advanced. Uncheck this. And then minus margin. Like that. And then I can make it a link here at content. Link. And I can have a hashtag link to model Y. Sorry, model Y. Okay. Now I collapse this to make things a little bit more visible. I can call this one arrow down. Now I can duplicate this, bring it down. Now the arrow is gone. So I go to the image, advanced. I decrease it a bit more until it becomes visible. Okay, then I can go to the model 3 and I call this one model Y. Then here at the container, I go to advanced. And then over here I say model Y. So this whole container is called model Y. And over here at the arrow, I said the link is hashtag model Y. So right now, if I click over here, I will go down to the next area. And that's also what happens over here. And then we can have plugins that will make it a smooth scroll and stuff. That's for another tutorial. But now it's a matter of changing this to model Y, going to the container, changing this to model Y. Of course, change the links, duplicate the area, call this one model S. Go to the style, model S. So I think we did a great job. If you take a look over here, it looks like that. And here, it also looks great. Well, what I see when I refresh the page, you see some animations. What you can do using Elementor, click over here, advanced, go to the motion effects, turn it on. Well, let's say fade up or fade in up. And you can also say do that after a half second. And then after a bit longer, advanced, motion effects, fade in up. After a quarter second, that one will appear. And then fade in left or to the right. No. Left. After 1 second. Then over here. Fade in right. After this amount. So I update it. Look at this. Almost the same as this. But there's a text over here, existing inventory. So let me go over here, change the text. Existing inventory. Save, update. So I think personally, so far so good. By the way, I'm honest, I'm new to this Flexbox container stuff. I'm learning things. I'm also in contact with Elementor, like, hey, is this the right way to approach this? Because I want to give the best tutorials. If you are a web developer or you see something like, Ferdy, this way you are doing this is totally wrong, please let me know in the comments. I want to do it the best way possible. By the way, using the container builder, there are so many ways on how to do things, but I want to do it the best way. That's the easiest way, or not the easiest way, but the best way that will make your website as slick as possible, also when it comes to coding. And right now I want to talk on how to optimize your website for tablets and mobiles. Okay, really important. Let's take a look at how this looks on a mobile. Let me first go to the Tesla website and make this smaller. What I see, quite fast, it changes to the tablet view. And then this menu is gone, and there's one menu button at the right. So let me do Shift Command 4, 1470. If I go to my website, it's still not responsive. So I need to change the breakpoint, because over here the breakpoint from the desktop view to the tablet view is around, what was it, 1400 pixels? 1500. So that's what I want to do over here. So I go to the 3 lines, to the site settings, layout. I collapse this. And at the breakpoints for the tablet, I want to say 1400. I update it. So again, I make the screen smaller. Okay, let's see how you're doing over here. So the breakpoint. Okay, let's change it to 1200. If I make it smaller, it should also be the case over here. Yes. Okay, the breakpoint is exactly as I want it to be. Now let's see what happens when I go to the tablet view. I can click over here below, responsive mode. Then I click on the tablet and then it looks like this. Well, that's not exactly as this. So if I want to see a mobile or a tablet view, I mouse click inspect. Then I click over here and I go to the iPad Pro version. You can also say iPad. And then I change this to 100%. So it's how I want it to be. So what I can do, let me go back to the normal mode. I can search for a button using the Flexbox container. I can just drag it over here. And it's beneath this area. Remember, I need to go to advanced Z index, say 10. Then I go to content. I change the text to menu. But what I want to do here at advanced, I want to say this should not be displayed on the desktop. So I scroll to responsive and I say hide it on a desktop, and then it will be shown on a tablet and on a mobile. Here, with this menu, I want to go to advanced and I say to Elementor, I want to hide it on a tablet and I want to hide it on a mobile. Also over here, advanced, responsive, hide it on a tablet, hide it on a mobile. So look what happens. Right now we see the menu. When I make it smaller, the menus will disappear and the button appears. But the button does not exactly look like this one. So how can we fix that? Also over here, by the way, you can do a right mouse click, inspect, iPad 100%. So there's some room for improvement. So let's start with the menu. Let's tell this. I go over here, then I click on the responsive mode and I go to the tablet view. So those are active, menu and the Tesla logo. This is not active. So I go to the style of the button. I change the color to primary. I click on the button. I want to drag this all the way, almost all the way to the left. Then I want to go to the text color and I use the primary color. Update, and now automatically it looks like this. And now it's a matter of lining up everything, making it pixel perfect. So what I see over here, the logo is too far to the right. And there, this menu button should be to the left. So I go over here to the button, to the advanced area. Here it is 40 at the left. I uncheck this, or 48. I bring it to 36. Let's see what it's doing. It brings it to the left. Whoa. Okay, I'm happy with that. And then I want to adjust the menu to this style, of course. So I go to the menu. I think there's a small border over there. So I go to the button style, and at the border radius, I increase it to 4. I uncheck the padding, and now it's 0. So from this point on, we can make it look better. Well, before we do that, let's go to typography, change it to Carmen, or the font you want to use. Change this to 13, maybe. Medium is okay. And I want to go to the padding. Well, I always want to have twice as much space at the left and the right as on the top and the bottom. So let's start somewhere. Let's say 8, 16, 8, and 16. Okay. Or it can be a bit bigger. Yes. Okay. Let's go to advanced. Uncheck this and say at the right, I want to have 30 pixels padding. Okay, that's too much. Let's bring it back to 20. And I have to be honest, this is also new for me, this way of making websites. If you're like, Ferdy, you're totally doing it the wrong way, let me know in the comments, because I want to be the best in explaining the Elementor container. Okay. So, container, content, button, style, let's say 10. I'm okay with this. So what I see below, let's close this now. And this one, I can drag this to the right. Okay. Also over here, it looks already quite the same. This is my website. This is the website of Tesla. So I don't need to change anything. If I would change something over here, I would go to the navigator, to the Model 3 area. Then inside that area is the container. And I could change the minimum height. And in that way, look at this. I could bring them closer. And I can go to advanced. Place this to 0. So it will line up better. So let's do that. I'm already quite happy with how it looks. So I can say Let's go to the history. And I go over here. Bring this back. And now if I click on the container, this is back. And the top, okay, is also back. So far so good. Over here, if I click, nothing happens. Over here, if I click, there's a menu that appears with a lot of menu items. Well, let me show you really quickly how we can do that. I go back, exit. Then you can go to Elementor if you have Elementor Pro, Elementor templates below, pop-ups. Let me remove this one, start over again. I create my first pop-up by clicking here. I call this one menu pop-up. And I create a template. I can make use of a lot of templates over here, but I want to create it from scratch. So I click on the X. Then I click on the plus. I want everything below each other. So just actually the Elementor page builder is exactly the same builder as the pop-up builder. Then I go to all the elements and I go for the navigation menu. I drag it over here. And I can use the main menu and I want the layout to be vertical. And again, when I'm doing this, I'm like, okay, it's not a tutorial on how to create a menu. It's more Elementor Container, but let me show you really quickly what I will do. If I go over here, I hover over it, it looks like this. So what I can do, make an image, a screenshot, and check what the color is, the background color. I copy it. Then I go to the website and I go for background, and at the style, hover, the background is this. Okay. The color should stay this one. Okay. Then I want to go to the element, the navigation menu, advanced, and at padding, I want to increase it. Let's say 20. Okay, let's see how it looks over here. A bit bigger. Oh, by the way, if you make it smaller to the tablet view, for instance, this appears. So what I can do in order to let this not happen, I go to content and then the mobile drop down, the breakpoint. There's no breakpoint. So I say none. So this menu will always appear, even if I make it smaller. Okay, then I go to the style. Garmin. Increase it a bit. Okay. Then I go to the vertical padding. If I hover over here, there's also a border radius. So far so good. Publish. Then I say save and close. I don't want to trigger this. A few more things I want to do. I can duplicate this. And then I can add my other menu over here. And then with padding and stuff, you can align it. I leave it with this one. Now I want to configure this. How should it appear? Where should it appear? So I go to the settings here left below. And the width, Shift Command 4, is around 400 pixels. So the width is 400 pixels. I want to fit the height to the screen. I want to position it horizontally to the right and vertically to the center. Doesn't matter because its height is fit to screen. I want to show an overlay over here so it becomes darker. If you don't want that, just do it like that. And I want to have a close button. So I click on update, save and close. And now I go to the homepage. So I click on exit, pages, homepage, Elementor, edit with Elementor. I go to the tablet view, click over here and click on dynamic tags. I scroll down and I search for the pop-up. Then I click on this icon and I select the menu pop-up. So now the page will be refreshed and make it smaller. Okay, it's working, but I want to have an animation. So how can I do that? I go back, exit, go over here to templates, pop-ups, edit with Elementor. Then I go to the settings again, entrance animation, fade in from the right and go back, fade out from the right, and let's say 0.3 seconds. Command R, click over here. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. Now you know a bit more about the container builder than in the beginning. That's what I hope for you. There will be more tutorials because look at this. If I would go over here or to the container, there's so much more. We can talk about gaps between the elements, the wrap, additional options. So we're not there yet. But right now you know the basics on how to create websites using the Elementor container. But wait, we did not take a look at the... Let's go to pages. We did not take a look at the mobile version yet. If I go to the mobile version, look at this. Right now, this is how the image is in the frame. Now it looks like this. So it's a different image. So right now I say right mouse click, save image as, go to the desktop. Now it is saved. I go to Elementor, to the mobile view. And now the image of the car does not fit. So I go to the right over here, all my secret data. Now you see, oh no. I go to the navigator, to the Model 3 area, style. I click on the plus and I drag the image of the mobile over here. I insert the media and now it's looking great by default. Update. So refresh. Right now, this is what we have created. I make it smaller. Tablet view. This is the one from Tesla. This is the one from us. I can make it a bit slower. I make it smaller at the website of Tesla. And this is how it looks at our place. You see there are a few more things we can do with the padding and stuff, but also here. How can I fix that? Let me show you. I go to the first button. Then I want to justify the alignment here at the content. Nothing happens. I need to go to advanced. And here for the mobile, I change the width to 100% and voila, there you go. Also over here, click, justify. And over here, full width. It feels great to be justified. So now refresh the page. Also here, it becomes wider for the mobile view. So you can play around with the pixel perfect area, bringing this a little bit to the right, to the left. I showed you how to do that, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. The first tutorial about the Elementor container. There's so much more to cover. We can talk about the gap between elements, about the wrapping, and the more complex websites you make, the more you'll see how powerful this tool is. So through the tutorials, I want to create more in-depth tutorials, more advanced tutorials, so you can learn how to make websites using the Elementor container builder, also known as the Flexbox container. So stay tuned for more tutorials. If you like this video, please like it. Feel free to subscribe for more upcoming tutorials. And when you do that, you'll see my new videos. And I'm about to make a lot of videos because I'm excited for the container builder. It's finally released. It's finally workable. So the best is yet to come. And personally, I hope that's also the case in your life. I don't know where you are in life. I hope you'll have great days. You are a blessing to other people and you are a blessing to yourself. But I want to stick with the WordPress content because right now I want to preach about stuff in life. But maybe one day I'll make another YouTube channel about that. Probably not, but maybe. Hey, maybe. Okay. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Bye bye.